another Candid Kandy. I got this question a handful of times. I'm not going to say a ton of times, but a handful of times, and I thought it was something that maybe I should address. So, as from the title, I'm sure you can tell, we're going to talk about losing your virginity and why there's such pressure to do so. And I think the pressure comes from your peers. You want to be cool like everybody else and have done that. But if I'm being truthful, it's not that big a deal. Okay, let's go back. Let's talk about me first. Because, it's my channel and I like to share my experiences with you guys. So, I didn't lose my virginity until I was out of high school. I was 18. And it was to someone that I don't even remember their last name now. And it was not a good experience. It was not fireworks and bullshit like they say. It wasn't. And that kind of set me off onto a path to find out, what was such a big deal about it. Does that make sense? Why was losing your virginity such a big deal? And, did I do something wrong? Was I missing out on something? And it's stupid. I remember my friends and I talking about it, and, a couple of my friends had lost their virginity, but most of them hadn't. And I remember my best friend in high school, when she lost hers, she was 21, and she called me, super early in the morning, and she's like, "Can you come over?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up? Are you okay?" And she's like, "I lost my virginity last night." And I was like, "Oh my God!" So I went over to her house, and we talked about the whole experience, and, shared stories, and it was a special moment with us, but she never saw that person again. He ghosted her. There was ghosting back then too, but we didn't call it ghosting. I don't know what we called it, but ghosting is a new term. And she felt awful about it. She felt awful about waiting so long and then doing it with someone who would treat her that way. And I think, in my experience from some of the stories that I've heard from, some of you guys in my email and things, that happens to a lot of us our first time. And it happened to me too. It was a one-time thing. Getting older, I was searching for, what I'd done wrong. So I fully admit that I was promiscuous and stupid and just really desperate to find what the big deal was. And I think for a lot of us, we search for what the big deal is, because when we're first starting out, unless we've done a ton of research or can figure it out for ourselves or have done self-research, we don't really know what to do. And they're not going to teach you that in school, obviously. So you have to rely on your peers or your parents. And I know that my parents, we never talked about it. It was not something we talked about. It was an avoided conversation. And so you kind of have to learn on your own and figure it out on your own. And it's awful. It's awful. And I know for me that sex became a way better thing when I had an emotional connection to someone. When I felt something for that person, and not just lust, but even if it wasn't love, it was a mutual respect. We had gotten to know each other, and I was okay giving my body to someone. I hope that makes sense to you guys. And yes, you can have casual sex if you want. I'm not advocating against that. But for me, sex is better when I'm with someone I really care about and that cares about me in return. And so losing your virginity should not be this oh, if I don't do it by this age, I'm not okay. And you shouldn't let your friends pressure you into something like that, because that is a huge decision. It's a huge decision. I don't care what anyone says. That's a huge decision to give yourself up to someone for the very first time. And especially the first time, you really should have someone who cares and respects you and your body and what's going to feel good for both of you. You shouldn't do it just because you feel pressure to do it. It's something special that you should share with someone. And this has nothing to do with like religion or anything like that. You guys know that I'm not religious at all. But I really feel like you should treat your body better than to just give it to some random guy like I did. I learned from my mistake. I'm telling you that it gets better, and when you have a connection with someone, it feels better. It not just physically, but like mentally feels better and spiritually feels better. I personally like to vibe with someone. I like to have a common, feel for each other. I go off vibes a lot. It's not, and actions really. I try not to take people by their word too much because it's got me in trouble before. I know we've talked about this on the channel before, that after I left my marriage, which was, I don't know if I've ever actually talked about this. I was basically in a sexless marriage for the last 10 years of my marriage, and when I left, I felt so awful about myself and so like that no one's gonna want me, that the very first person that gave me attention, I chose to have sex with. And that person gave me an STD. And that's another important thing that we need to talk about, is the person that you're with, you need to trust, and you need to both be clear tested. I think it's really important to make sure that you stay up on that, even if you're like, keep up on your testing. Because having an STD is not fun. I don't know if I said this, I got chlamydia, which is curable, thank goodness. But I didn't know I had it for a couple months, and it has kind of screwed me up a little bit. I had to be on antibiotics for like 3 months, and it really screwed with my system, and my system has not fully recovered from that. Even taking, probiotics and stuff, it's, being stupid can be bad for your body. So, I guess to wrap this all up, you should not let others pressure you to do something that you're not sure you're ready for. You should share that with someone that respects you and cares for you, and you should also do the same for them. You should respect them and care for them. And don't be dumb like me. Keep up on your testing. If you are going to have casual sex or, have multiple partners, make sure you keep up on that stuff and, protect yourself first. Make sure that there's condoms in use, even if you have to use, female condoms, whatever you need to do to keep yourself safe. There's so many kinds of contraceptive, there's so many things, but they're not all 100%, and not all of them protect you from STDs. So please be careful. And I guess that's all. I have to say about that. Again, it's a peer pressure thing, and you should not let people pressure you into something like that. And I know for my younger audience that, oh, well, my friends say it's fine, it's no big deal. If you're not personally ready, don't do it. Don't do it just because your friends say, yeah, it's awesome. No, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. I love you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye!